In a blood-soaked battlefield, a group of fierce naked people clashed with a lone hero, a tall barbarian with long wild hair and two gleaming axes gripped tightly in his hands. These warriors, born and raised to embrace the brutal ways of combat, surged forward with unwavering determination. Each person met his end one by one, cut down as the hero carved a path through them, leaving nothing but bodies in his wake. This clan held their honor and death above all else, seeing their ultimate purpose fulfilled only on the battlefield. Every fallen warrior left behind a legacy of valor, their sacrifice celebrated by the remaining fighters who fought even harder. The hero's voice rang out raw and desperate as he called a name into the swirling chaos. Evelyn. His shout echoed over the roar of battle. I'll buy you as much time as I can. Prepare the spell. His words held a fierce resolve, and Evelyn's voice answered back, steady but strained. I understand, she replied, the urgency clear as she worked to channel the energy needed for a spell powerful enough to change the tide of the fight. Watching in awe and confusion was a small boy barely old enough to wield a blade, yet his heart pounded with pride and fear. The hero before him was his father, a warrior whose honor was unrivaled even in the clan known for its unbreakable code of loyalty and valor. To this young boy, his father was not only a hero but the epitome of what it meant to be a warrior. The boy marveled that even in this moment, surrounded by foes and betrayed by the very tribe they had trusted, his father continued to fight. But fate has something else. His father was attacked by the people. The blades were almost inside his stomach, but he kept fighting and eventually destroyed some of them. While Evelyn was preparing her magic, it had some green aura around it. With an immense light, it sucked the young boy. Evelyn told him that wherever this star lands, it will be much better than here. The boy's name was Aiden, and she told him to survive. Suddenly his father called him out and told him to become strong enough to lose nothing at all, and to become so strong that no one can dare to touch him, and to make sure he survives in the end. His father had a heroic final hero type of smile as he looked at Aiden. Aiden nodded solemnly, his gaze meeting his father's, a warrior who stood unflinching on the edge of death. In his father's eyes there was no trace of fear or regret, only the fierce pride that came from a life lived as a true barbarian. It was a gaze that spoke volumes, a message passed from father to son, filling Aiden with an understanding of honor and sacrifice that words could never capture. Fast forward to a bustling sunlit afternoon, a scene far removed from the brutal battlefields of Aiden's memories. The air was lively, filled with chatter and laughter, and on the street corner some groups of clowns were standing. One of them said that it must be because the college entrance exam was over, so they already catching big fish from the afternoon, as this geek must be from a rich family. They then told him to take his bag and watch already. He was a small cute geek with old granny glasses, but his watch looked expensive and shiny. He was Jean Tae. He was a third year at Gianal High School. The boy told them that they shouldn't do this as it could lead to big trouble. The guy who was standing in front of him told him that he is such a nerd that a trouble is standing in front of him and he is clowning about it. The boy, shifting nervously from foot to foot, glanced at the group of clowns and said, "It's just that my friend will be here soon." His voice was unsure, but there was a hint of anticipation behind it. One of the clowns, scoffing, leaned in with a smirk. "Oh really? What kind of badass is he, huh? Or is he some sort of monster?" As if on cue, a loud crash erupted from behind them. Bricks flew everywhere as the wall nearby broke open and one of the guys was thrown backward, taken completely by surprise. Dust settled around the gaping hole and through it stepped a towering figure, a guy with broad shoulders and thick chiseled muscles. He was charismatic, his presence alone exuding strength and confidence. The stunned group stared as he took in the scene with a stern expression. "Looks like you boys could use a lesson in manners," he said, voice deep and steady. His name was Kyo-do and he was in third year. The boys were stunned to see that, and they asked him about how he punched through the wall. Cheol then grabbed the guy and told him that he is Jint's friend, and then he punched him. Such a charismatic guy. Afterwards Cheol and Jint walked together. On their way, Jint told him that he is amazing as this time he punched through a brick wall. He then asked him if he is a human. Chil chuckled nervously, raising his hands in a defensive gesture. Of course I'm human, he insisted, though his eyes darted away, betraying a hint of doubt. After all, it had been 10 long years since he'd arrived in this strange world they called Earth. Sometimes he wondered if he still showed the signs of the barbarian he had once been, a warrior from another life. Even his old friend Jint seemed suspicious lately, eyeing him carefully as if he could sense something was off. When they finally got back to the small apartment, some empty bowls stacked high on the table and scattered around the room as if a beggar had come through and devoured everything in sight. Chil, who was still finishing off the last bites from his plate. Across the table an old man chuckled, shaking his head. "You're eating so little these days, Chil," he remarked. Chil shrugged, a bit embarrassed. "It's just that I haven't had much of an appetite lately," he admitted, glancing at the table piled with empty bowls. Then, looking over at his grandfather, he asked gently, "But Grandpa, why aren't you eating anything?" His grandfather chuckled softly, his eyes warm with affection. "Ah, I'm an old man now, Chil. My digestion isn't what it used to be," he replied, patting his stomach with a small smile. "These days just watching you eat is enough to fill me up." The person he is most grateful to is his grandfather, as he picked up a barbaric boy who had nowhere to go and then raised him without asking for anything in return. The old man then told him that he got a call from Manager Park. Our boy stopped eating at that point. The old man then asked him if he told him that he is going to be a boxer. Chil told him that he is going to be an athlete while finishing his meal. The old man then asked him that he had won every prize there is, as isn't it going to be a waste? Our boy realized that humans and barbarians are completely different species after all. As him participating in sports, it's no different from cheating, and that goes against the spirit of fair play. Afterwards our boy got sad and realized that he is sorry for his grandpa, but there is only one path for a barbarian. Chil sighed, his gaze distant as he thought back to his former life. To be a warrior, he said to himself. It wasn't the same as the sports humans practiced here. No games, no friendly matches. It was blood and grit battles against worthy opponents where every fight was a matter of life and death. But that was the problem with Earth. It was peaceful. Too peaceful. As he sat outside lost in thought, he heard his grandfather saying inside, breaking the quiet. "It's messed up," the old man said, eyes fixed on the television. Curious, Chil turned to see what had caught his grandfather's attention. The news anchor's voice was tense as she reported the government has announced that they are conducting a thorough investigation into the unidentified disaster in Cheongju. The old man told him that there'd been an accident in Cheongju with over 120 casualties already. As it's something about a monster appearing, he wondered that it's the end times. Meanwhile, in the news there was some additional footage of the monster being released, as the unidentified life forms have also been spotted in the air, so they advise people to be cautious. It was the picture of some deer with wings and his eyes glowing green. Our boy started shivering. He then told his grandpa that he needs to step out for a bit. Moreover, a car was heading somewhere inside. It was Chil who said that. It's his first long drive since his dad got him the new car. As this was likely their final mission together, he advised Chil to get a license as well, stressing its importance. Chil paused, recalling the unusual monster featured in the news earlier that day. It was an animal he faintly remembered from his childhood, though he couldn't initially place where he'd seen it. Slowly the realization dawned on him: this creature might be connected to the strange otherworldly place he used to call home. Jean Tae turned to Chil and saying that although they called it a disaster, the scene felt far more intense than he'd expected. Soldiers were stationed everywhere and the crowd's nervous energy was palpable. Meanwhile, a few strangers cast curious glances at Chil, clearly noticing his impressive physique. Some whispered admiring his build. It seemed he'd caught the interest of a few who admired his look. As the murmurs continued, one of the onlookers approached him, asking which group he belonged to. They assessed his simple attire and concluded that he didn't seem affiliated with any organization. One of them then extended a golden card toward him and suggested, "If you're interested, you could join us." Chil took a closer look at the card, wondering if this was some kind of gathering for warriors. The guy then grabbed our boy's shoulder and told him that they need to colonize planets so they are more like workers than warriors. However, Chio tears the card apart and told them that he is more of a warrior, as being a worker would be disgraced to a warrior. The guys went completely berserk, their anger palpable as they confronted him. They shouted, demanding to know how he could dare to refuse the lucrative offer from Nuzong Development. Their voices were filled with disbelief and outrage, fueling the chaotic atmosphere around them. At that moment our boy felt a surge of irritation rise within him. He couldn't believe how they were insulting him, a warrior who had fought hard to earn his place. His frustration boiled over and he snapped back, challenging their audacity. Suddenly a vibrant purple aura enveloped him, crackling with energy, catching the attention of everyone nearby. The crowd fell silent, their eyes wide with wonder and fear. It was as if time had paused and the air thickened with anticipation. Then a notification window appeared in the air before him, glowing ominously and capturing everyone's attention. The words flickered across the screen announcing that the Apocalypse trial was about to begin. Our boy stood there stunned and was processing the gravity of the situation. The message continued, declaring that the end of the world was approaching Earth. Panic and confusion swept through the crowd as they absorbed the chilling news. Yet the notification also revealed a glimmer of hope. The sanctuary planet Nova extended a helping hand to the inhabitants of Earth, offering them a chance to survive the impending doom. Afterwards, an immense amount of light formed on the ground. Our boy was stunned to see about what's happening here. After a while they wondered where they were. Meanwhile Jintai started going crazy. He told Chio that he should take responsibility as they are here because of him. Suddenly they set a notification window in front of them. They wondered what it was, as it said that the objective is to obtain a goblin coin. Jintai wondered what end trial means, since it's been saying this since earlier. Afterwards, Chio told Jintai to look up as there were a bunch of goblins standing in their way. In an instant our boy ran towards the goblin horde, wondering how long he has waited for this moment. To finally be able to confirm how strong he is. In an instant he smashed bunch of goblins, realizing that his blood is boiling as he is getting insanely excited. As his inner instinct is telling him that this is his only chance. With a single powerful punch, Chio obliterated 2 goblins in one swift move, leaving nothing but dust in his wake. Jintai, standing nearby, watched in disbelief, still struggling to process the spectacle. His mind raced with questions, marveling at how his buddy had just taken down not 2 but 3 monsters in the blink of an eye with such effortless strength and precision. As one of the goblins vanished into thin air, Jintai noticed something peculiar. A glimmering golden coin materialized above the fallen creature, hovering in the air like a prize awaiting its new owner. The sight only deepened his awe and wonder. As Keel tried to pick it, a notification window popped up saying it's a goblin coin, a Nova's basic currency of end times exam exclusive currency. Chio wondered that these are the goblin coins mentioned in the status window earlier. Afterwards the notification window notified him once again that his end times exam has been completed, and so that he have earned the right to become citizen of Nova, as to cross the portal to enter Nova. Chio and Jintai exchanged puzzled glances, both wondering what it could mean to cross to enter the portal. The phrase seemed cryptic, loaded with implications they couldn't quite grasp. Chio, after a moment's thought, pointed into the distance and said if they're talking about a portal, they must mean that purple swirling thing floating over there. He gestured toward a shimmering violet vortex hovering just above the ground, its eerie glow casting flickering shadows around them. After a while Jintai was all bruised up, as if he recently went to sneak into some girl's house and got beaten. He was blaming Chio for all this. He then started shouting that he threw him into a place crawling with some goblins out of nowhere, as if he's trying to get him killed. However, our boy realized that it is said that the coins couldn't be transferred, so Jintai has to fight to earn them himself. However, Jintai wasn't having any of it. He shouted at him, saying that to throw someone out of nowhere and someone who can't even fight into this. Suddenly another goblin lunged towards them, but in an instant Chio kicked him and the goblin pushed away. Chio said that there is no faster way to grow fighting firsthand. Afterwards, Chio with a cute smile on his face told Jin-Tai that he won't let him die as he got caught up in this because of Hai, so he will take responsibility and help him. Jin-Tai, who looked as weary as an old man, gave Chio a weary smile and said it's such an honor to have made it this far together. At least we've completed the quest. What a relief. He sighed deeply, his hands resting on his knees, savoring the small victory. Meanwhile, hidden behind a thick line of bushes, a pair of watchful eyes tracked their every move through the crosshairs of a rifle scope. A soldier whispered to his sergeant, "I see their duffel bag over there, sir." The sergeant grunted, his tone dismissive. "Probably just a couple of goblins. Either way, let's get over there and take them out, leave nothing to chance." Meanwhile, Chio and Jin-Tai were already having fun with the duffel bag. Chio told Jin-Tai that there are a lot of useful stuff in the duffel bag as the goblins were carrying. As there is even combat rations, so they don't have to worry about going hungry at all. Suddenly there was a gun tip on the head of Chio. There were two soldiers standing there, but one of them got shocked seeing that they are just humans. After a while they were cooking something when the soldier told them that he was so caught up he thought they were a goblin. He then asked them that why are they just two of them and completely unarmed at that. Chio told him that they ended up without knowing what kind of place this was. Jin-Tai turned to Chio with a thoughtful expression, his voice laced with curiosity. "Do you think this end times exam is real, and if the soldiers are part of it too, then maybe everything we see in the status window is actually true?" Chio nodded, slowly considering the implications. Just then the soldier hidden in the bushes spoke quietly to his comrade. "It's official, the government is prepping for the end times too. They're saying that Nova, the planet we're supposed to migrate to, is basically stuck in the Stone Age. We'll all have to work together to build up villages and make it livable. As companies and organizations are also jumping into Nova's development to prepare for the new era, a competition unknown to the general public has already begun behind the scenes." Chio then asked him if in Nova there are many monsters like the ones they saw earlier. The soldier further said that this place is the kind of testing ground, while Nova is the main stage, and that's the reason it's crucial to train here, as Nova will be even more challenging. The soldiers then offered them another duffel bag with bunch of more things. Chio was already lost in his own thoughts. He wondered about how Nova is going to be even tougher than this place. So he have to do some more hunting. Later that night they went to hunting. Jint asked him why is he doing more hunting. Chio told him that he should remember what the soldier said, as they can't sit around and they need to level up faster. Nearby a crumbling stone tower loomed with a group of goblins patrolling its base. Among them stood one unusual goblin, noticeably different from the others. It had long white hair and leaned on a twisted, creepy staff adorned with charms and bones. Chio squinted, trying to make sense of the strange figure. "What kind of creature is that?" he muttered. Jint frowned, his eyes narrowing. "I don't think it's like the goblins we've faced before. It looks stronger, or at least different." Without hesitation Chio marched forward, a frying pan gripped tightly in his hand. Before Jint could react, Chio lunged forward and with one powerful swing smashed the pan against the goblins, sending them flying. After that Chio started climbing the tower. With the immense red aura around him, Chio told the tattooed goblin that he is coming for him. However, the tattooed goblin looked like he didn't give a single trash about it, and suddenly a lightning stroked the goblin. Chio realized that the goblin was a mage. Afterwards the lightning stroked Chio while Jint kept shouting for him. While being completely burned by it, Chio looked happy. He moreover enjoyed it. Afterwards another lightning stroked it, but Chio asked for more and more. He felt like electricity was running down his spine, but he could take it. He is not just a barbarian, he is also the son of a great shaman. Afterwards, Chio reached the top, having golden aura light around him. He told the goblin that the pain that doesn't kill someone makes them stronger. And just like that he smashed the goblin and broke the entire tower. In the aftermath, Chio was laying on the ground. He wondered that he managed to hang in there thanks to the magic resistance he inherited from his mother. Suddenly the coin started floating over him. He realized they are not just coins but there is something else as well. Another notification window pops up saying a mana orb permanently grants a small amount of mana can be activated with 10 goblin coins exclusive to the Doomsday Trial, which is non-transferable. He wondered if he could gain mana like a shaman. Suddenly the mana went inside his chest and he started glowing with the golden light. He felt that this feels like such a power-up as it almost makes all of his previous efforts seem pointless. Suddenly Jin-Tai the fat clown came running towards him saying to be fine after getting hit by lightning. He wondered if he is a human. At that moment Chio went dark and blank. He called out Jin-Tai saying now they have to hunt even more. Jin-Tai almost pissed his pants. Chio told he that they should find the next hunting ground quickly as they especially need to take down that shaman who drop orbs. The next morning Jin-Tai woke up groggy and rubbed his eyes only to see Chio sitting nearby completely naked, a pile of shimmering mana orbs cradled in his hands. Jin-Tai blinked stunned and muttered, "Did you hunt goblins all night without sleeping?" Chio flashed a wild grin on him, his eyes glinting with an intense energy. "Not just mana orbs," he said excitedly, "I managed to grab a few strength orbs too. I feel like I've gotten insanely strong overnight." He clenched his fists, feeling the new surge of power flow through his body, eager to test his abilities. Just then a soft chime echoed in the air and a notification window appeared before them, its message stark and to the point. 12 hours have passed in the Doomsday Trial. The notification's words hung heavy in the air. Bosses are formidable enemies that novice players cannot face. Escaping as quickly as possible is recommended. Jin-Tai's eyes widened in horror as he processed the warning. Bosses? Showing up this early? That's insane, he muttered, a hint of panic creeping into his voice. He quickly turned to Chio. "We should get out of here now, the portal's still open, we can escape." But Chio's expression had shifted, his face darkening with a twisted excitement. A chilling grin spread across his face as he clenched his fists, the power from the mana and strength orbs surging within him. "Escape?" he said, his voice laced with exhilaration. "Why would I run? This is exactly what I've been waiting for." Jin-Tai's stomach churned as he looked at his friend, who now seemed almost unrecognizable, the thrill of the battle overtaking any fear. In the beginner's testing ground, chaos erupted as the field boss, a hulking towering ogre, laid waste to everything in its path. Soldiers fought valiantly, guns blazing, but the bullets only seemed to bounce off the ogre's thick leathery skin. It roared, swinging its massive club, sending soldiers scattering. Just as the monster raised its weapon to crush the nearest squad, Chio leapt into action, completely unfazed by his lack of armor or clothing. "Time for the real fight," he shouted, a fierce grin on his face. Jin-Tai could hardly believe his eyes. Here was Chio charging at an enemy twice his size, completely naked yet absolutely fearless. The ogre turned, noticing him, and Chio's excitement only grew. He clenched his fists, ready to go head to head with the enormous creature. Chio clenched his fist and swung with all his might, landing a solid punch on the towering goblin. He expected to feel some give in the creature's skin or a grunt of pain, but it was like punching a wall of solid steel. The goblin didn't flinch, not even an inch. Instead, it glared down at him with a smirk, as if amused by his effort. Before Chio could react, the goblin's massive fist came crashing toward him. The blow was swift and ruthless, slamming into him with devastating force. Pain exploded through Chio's body as he staggered backward, barely able to keep his footing. Meanwhile, Jin-Tai, who was standing with the soldiers beside, said that it can't be possible that its iron head is being overpowered. The soldier said that that's impressive in itself, as the field bosses aren't meant to be an easy prey, as they need to be at least on par with Tan to stand a chance against it. Chio lay sprawled on the ground, his body aching from the impact. He couldn't believe the sheer force behind that single punch. How could one creature be so strong? As he struggled to regain focus, he understood the grim reality. This goblin was undoubtedly stronger than him, maybe even leagues beyond what he could handle alone. Just then the goblin's massive fist came swinging down again, aiming to finish him off. But this time Chio's instincts kicked in and he rolled to the side just in time. The goblin's punch slammed into the ground with a force that sent tremors through the earth, scattering dirt and rocks around them. Chio understood that he had to avoid a head-on clash with the goblin at all costs. The creature's brute strength was overwhelming and he knew that a direct confrontation would likely end badly for him. The goblin was not only powerful but also quick to strike, making it a formidable opponent. As he observed the beast's broad muscular frame, Chio felt a surge of adrenaline course through his veins. Just as he anticipated, the goblin began launching its heavy punches once more, each swing powerful enough to crush stone. Chio's instincts kicked in. He knew he had to remain agile and aware. He focused intently, his eyes locked on the goblin, watching for any sign of movement. He analyzed the goblin's posture, noting the shifts in its weight and the tensing of its muscles. This time he was ready. With a combination of quick reflexes and keen observation, he managed to dodge each of the goblin's wild swings. He realized that the goblin's attacks were straightforward and predictable, making them easier to read. As he sidestepped another powerful punch, an idea sparked in his mind. Seizing the opportunity, Chio reached out and grabbed the goblin's massive arm as it swung by. Using the creature's own momentum against it, he pivoted his body and threw the goblin down onto the ground with all his strength. As the goblin hit the ground, Chio seized the moment and leaped into the air, aiming to deliver a powerful punch directly to its head. His fist connected with a sickening thud, the force of the blow reverberating through his arm. He didn't stop there. Fueled by adrenaline and determination, he unleashed a flurry of punches, hammering down on the goblin like a crazed maniac. The soldiers watching from a distance were utterly stunned. They could hardly believe their eyes as they witnessed this seemingly impossible scene unfold. Here was a lone fighter taking on an ogre barehanded and holding his ground against such a formidable foe. Chio couldn't hold his happiness back. He started cheering on how he was able to take down someone stronger and bigger than him. The goblin was on the ground looking like a beauty girl. The goblin was then turning into a black orb. Chio wondered what ability it will give him this time. He was shocked to see something. Afterwards, the people were thanking Chio for saving them, as they owe him their life. They further told him that before going to Nova they should buy as many items as possible from the shop. Chio was shocked to see a shop, as they can't take anything to Nova that they didn't buy from the shop. There was an old swaggy goblin sitting beside the shop. He told them to take a look and see what they want. Chio was amazed as he saw a talking goblin for the first time. However, Jint was making up some evil plans as how they got so many of coins. He wondered what they should do with it. Chio, filled with enthusiasm, turned to Jint and declared, "Let's buy everything this goblin has in the store." The sheer audacity of the idea thrilled him, and without a second thought they rushed to gather every item in sight. The old goblin watched with a mix of surprise and amusement as the two young men scoured the shelves, tossing potions, weapons, and various trinkets into their growing pile. In no time at all, Chio and Jint had emptied the shop, leaving behind nothing but bare wooden shelves. The goblin chuckled, rubbing his hands together as he counted their coins. "You two are something else," he exclaimed, clearly entertained by their reckless spending spree. Once their purchases were complete, a notification window suddenly popped up in front of them, shimmering with vibrant text. "All conditions for heading to Nova have been met," it announced. Chio's heart raced as he read the message, realizing the significance of their actions. They had not only stocked up on invaluable resources but had also completed a crucial requirement for their journey. Afterwards, they were standing to enter another planet. While Jint was nervous, our boy was so excited that he almost ripped his pants apart. As they were heading, Jint told Chio to look over there, as there were two moons. As it felt similar to Earth, yet something was different. After what felt like an eternity of anticipation, Chio and Jint finally reached planet Nova. They stood at the edge of a breathtaking cliff, gazing out at a sprawling expanse below. Bright lights twinkled in the distance, illuminating the landscape like a sea of stars, and Chio couldn't help but feel a surge of excitement. Jint, equally mesmerized, pointed down toward the vibrant glow. "Those lights must be where everyone is gathered," he said, a note of eagerness in his voice. But as the awe of their new surroundings began to settle, Chio's stomach growled. "Breaking the moment." "We've got a problem," Chio admitted, looking sheepish. "I'm starving." The realization hit Jint like a cold splash of water. His eyes widened as he recalled what happened when he went too long without food. "This is bad," he said. "Know what happens when he gets hungry? He turns into a beast." Jint also realized that it will take at least half a day to walk to the tent village. Suddenly a gorgeous beauty found them. She asked them if they need any help. Jint died on her beauty. He asked her if she know any place where they might find some food. She tried to seduce them with her lip-touching move. She told them that they don't seem empty-handed. Afterwards she told them to follow her, as in these end times they got to help each other. Our boys went crazy over her. After that they started following her. Upon reaching the place, her melons were almost blasting the shirt buttons. She told them that she stumbled upon this fishing spot by chance. Afterwards Jint started unpacking. He said that they can make fishing rods with the stuff they bought at the store. The girl then told them to go ahead and make the fishing rods, as she will go grab the bait she left over there. While making the fishing rod, Jint told Chio that he was worried, but he is glad they found such a goddess. Our boy was going crazy over how he was hungry. Once they finished making the fishing rods, Chio's excitement got the better of him. He couldn't wait any longer. He leaped right into the pool with a splash, ready to catch some fish and make the most of their adventure. The water felt refreshing against his skin, and he immediately began casting his line, his focus solely on the task at hand. Meanwhile, Jint was still standing at the edge, feeling a strange presence behind him. Something about the air shifted, sending a chill down his spine. Curiosity getting the better of him, he turned to look over his shoulder and froze. Standing there was the same girl from earlier, flanked by a group of imposing figures. They were all muscular and menacing, their laughter echoing through the air like a chorus of mockery. "Look at this loser falling for her trick." The girl stepped forward, a smug grin on her face as she addressed Jint. "Welcome to Nova. If your friend keeps going around fishing with what little he has, he'll get robbed by guys like them," she warned, gesturing dismissively toward the group of burly men behind her. Her tone was mocking, as if she relished the thought of Chio falling victim to their schemes. Jint's irritation flared. "We were tricked by you," he shot back, his fists clenching at his sides. He couldn't believe how brazen she was, flaunting her deception so openly. She shrugged nonchalantly, her eyes glimmering with a mix of mischief and confidence. "It's just the law of nature," she replied, a hint of amusement in her voice. "The weak get eaten and the strong survive. You two should have known better than to think you could fish here without consequences." Jint told them that if they mess with him they will seriously regret it. The long-haired dude punched Jint in the face, telling him how he is acting so tough. The guy then asked his friends about how there was a big guy with them too. They all started making fun about he must have been scared and ran away. Or he must have been hiding in the water 'cause he is too scared. Suddenly a powerful splash erupted from the water, startling everyone. Chio emerged, grappling with two crocodiles that had lunged at him from beneath the surface. The surprise attack was intense, but Chio quickly realized that he was handling the situation with an unexpected ease. As he fought off the reptiles, a surge of adrenaline coursed through him, and he remembered the ability he had inherited from the black ogre they had encountered earlier. It was a remarkable gift, one that allowed him to withstand the powerful jaws of the crocodiles without suffering any injuries. He felt invincible, his body moving fluidly as he dodged their bites and retaliated with swift punches. "This is amazing," Chio thought, exhilarated by his newfound strength. The ability to not get a scratch after being bitten by an alligator felt like hitting the jackpot. Once Chio finally subdued the two crocodiles, he dragged their lifeless bodies onto the shore, panting but exhilarated. He glanced over at the group watching him, his confidence surging. "So who are you guys? He called out, his tone steady and challenging. He felt prepared for whatever they might throw at him next. After all, he had just taken down two formidable foes. Meanwhile, Jin-tae stood off to the side, his emotions spilling over. Tears welled in his eyes as he pointed an accusatory finger at the girl. "They tricked me completely," he wailed, sounding more like a child than a young man in a world of danger. His frustration and embarrassment bubbled to the surface, and he felt utterly foolish for having fallen into her trap. Chio, catching sight of his friend's distress, rolled his eyes but couldn't help but smile. "Jin-tae, focus. You need to eat crocodile meat quickly." Afterwards, Jin-tae started crying again, saying he even got slapped and much more. One of the members asked Chio that he looks like a fighter, so what is he going to do now? Suddenly, with a single punch, Chio destroyed the guy's face. With a scary look on his face, he told the others to get ready, as he don't solve problems, he just eliminate them. Afterwards, the crocodiles appeared to be cooking something up behind our boy, who stood firm and unshaken like a towering rock amidst a storm. He spoke with a steady voice, revealing that these individuals had been extorting money from newcomers like themselves, preying on their inexperience and vulnerability. They all sat together, clustered like a bunch of mischievous clowns, the chaotic energy between them almost palpable. He went on to explain that they weren't just random troublemakers. They were thugs belonging to an infamous organization known as the Dragon Turtle Faction, notorious for their ruthless tactics and iron grip over the underbelly of the area. Chio then asked another guy who looked young if he was the leader. He told him that their boss's name was John Yong-gu, as he is currently the strongest in this area. The goddess told them that they are in trouble now, as their boss is incredibly powerful with the stat stones he has extorted. Chio took a hearty bite of the alligator meat, tearing into it like a man possessed, his eyes wild with excitement. As he chewed, he muttered with a mischievous grin that their boss looked like trouble too. The group watched in shock, nearly trembling. He was just tearing through the meat with his teeth like it was the easiest thing in the world. His ferocity left them feeling small and uneasy, glancing nervously at each other. Without missing a beat, Chio stood up, wiped his hands, and commanded them to lead the way. He wanted to see this so-called boss for himself, and from the look in his eyes there was no room for refusal. At the Yong-gu faction headquarters, Chio charged forward, taking down two men effortlessly with a single arm blow, his strength seeming almost unstoppable. As he looked around, he chuckled to himself, realizing that the toughness of the alligator meat was only just starting to digest, fueling his energy even further. The other faction members gathered, murmuring amongst themselves. They had heard rumors that Chio had shown up with the youngest recruits. Whispers spread quickly, fingers pointing in blame at Yong, accusing him of leading an enemy straight into their base. This is all because of Yong. Chio then began shouting at the top of his lungs, his voice echoing like a wild battle cry. He called out for Yong-gu to come out and face him, challenging him to fight like a real man. His fierce words stirred the entire area, and suddenly a hand adorned with a gleaming golden ring appeared, catching everyone's attention. Even Jin-tae looked taken aback as he recognized the man approaching. Finally, the boss emerged from the shadows, towering even taller and broader than Chio, exuding an intimidating aura. He glanced around with a scowl, then asked in a deep, rumbling voice, "Who dared to mess with my boys?" The boss and Chio was standing face to face. The boss asked Chio that he is such a green boy with such few words, as if he bite his tongue in half. However, Chio wasn't coming slow either. He asked him if being old is something to brag about, and suddenly the boss punched Chio in the face. However, it didn't affect Chio at all. He told him that in this world the one with the stronger fist is the adult. Chio blocked the boss's fist effortlessly, his stance unshaken. The boss let out a booming laugh, clearly impressed, and remarked that he liked Chio's spirit. With a sly grin, he offered Chio a deal. If Chio managed to win, he could become the boss's second-in-command, an elite position under his rule. But Chio wasn't swayed. Instead, he calmly replied that if he won, he'd be taking those two guys with him, no negotiations. With their terms set, Chio launched forward, aiming a fierce punch at the boss, who stood his ground like a fortress. The blow landed squarely on the boss's stomach, but he barely flinched, absorbing it with a smirk as if testing Chio's strength. Jint was stunned to see how Chio's fist was blocked. The younger guy who was standing beside him said that the boss has eaten 12 stat stones and more than half of them are strength stat stones. And at that level it's almost like ogre's skin. The boss knew that his skin was almost at a level comparable to an ogre's, but he still wondered why Kyo's fists were getting through him. While fighting with each other, Chio told him that he haven't met someone this tough since the ogre. Chio managed to push back the boss. The boss told him that it's because he is a kid. The boss raised his fist ready to land a powerful blow on Chio. But just as his fist came crashing down, Chio reacted in sync, meeting the attack head-on with his own fist. The two punches connected mid-air with a thunderous impact, and a sudden shockwave radiated from their clash, sending dust swirling around them. For a moment the boss's confident expression faltered. He could feel the force behind Chio's punch reverberate through his own arm, a sharp jolt that was unmistakable. His face tightened, betraying a hint of pain and surprise. And turns out his fingernails broke. A notification window suddenly popped up displaying text. Giant's hide consists of an epidermis tougher than steel. Intrigued, Chio looked down to see his own skin start to glow a faint green. He grinned, saying that he was lucky to have landed that hit. Could this be the real ogre skin effect? The realization seemed to fuel his confidence. Without hesitation, Chio seized the boss's neck with one arm, holding him firmly, and drew back his other arm to deliver a crushing punch. But before he could strike, the crowd erupted in protest, shouting that they would fight to defend their boss. Just as the mob began to surge forward, a group of familiar faces, the young clown gang, stepped in front of them, arms crossed and blocking the way. "This is a fair fight," one of them declared. "If you insist on interfering, you'll have to deal with us first." One of the guy told him that he swore loyalty to the Dragon Turtle faction and asked if this is betrayal. Yang told him that he simply pledged his allegiance to the strongest. As if he is going to be branded a traitor anyway, he might as well go all in. Out of nowhere the crowd saw their boss hurtling through the air, tumbling over them like a ragdoll before crashing into the ground with a thud. He no longer looked like the feared leader, but rather a pitiful, beaten old man. His face twisted in desperation as he begged for anyone to save him. Above them all, Kyo hovered in midair, glowing with a radiant aura that made him look like a legendary hero, even more imposing than any superstar. With one decisive, powerful punch he brought the fight to an end, his fist crashing down like a hammer of judgment. Kyo landed gracefully, his skin gleaming, and shook his head in disappointment. A boss begging for his life, pathetic, he thought. Afterwards they grabbed all the belongings of the Dragon Turtle factions. However, as they were heading to leave, the boss with his servants were on the ground. The boss asked Kyo if he could ask one thing. He asked him that he has never seen his face anywhere, so from which organization is he from? Kyo was dumbfounded to hear that since H is a high school sophomore. The clown gang's faces were to be seen. Afterwards the gang thanked Kyo for taking them in. Kyo realized that the way of the barbarian is to grow stronger through battle. As he also got his first underlings, however, despite his victory, a pang of self-doubt gnawed at Kyo. He couldn't shake the feeling of weakness, remembering that fleeting moment when he'd hesitated. That brief pause haunted him. If his father had witnessed it, Kyo was certain he'd have been disappointed. The thought sparked a fresh wave of anger within him, a burning resolve to get stronger and take down anyone who stood in his way. Determined, he turned sharply and called for Jean Tae, but then quickly corrected himself, addressing him as commander with newfound respect. "Commander," he said, voice firm. "Did you give instructions to the kids? They'll need it if they're going to make it here." Jean Tae's eyes widened in surprise and delight at being addressed as commander. A smile broke across his face as he replied, "I instructed the kids to set up the tents. They should be ready soon." Kyo nodded but quickly shifted the conversation. "We don't have time to waste, we're heading out," he declared. Jean Tae was curious. "Where are you planning on heading next?" he asked, a hint of uncertainty creeping into his tone. Keol turned to him with a creepy, almost manic glint in his eyes. I've decided our next destination. After adjusting his glasses, Jin-tae told Keol that there is something over there. Keol told him that his instincts are telling him that if they go beyond that they can become stronger. The place they were looking at looked like a sharp Egypt pyramid. Next day in the morning they all were standing in lines like they are in school. Keol told them that they did a great job building a tent. Keol further informed them that from this point on they would be crossing the river. Jong couldn't help but feel a mix of excitement and apprehension. He pondered over the enormity of their undertaking. They were venturing into a new continent, one that no one had ever attempted to subdue before. It was a daunting task filled with unknown challenges and dangers. After a moment of contemplation, Jong turned to Keol and asked, "When do you think we will be back?" Keol shrugged his shoulders nonchalantly, replying, "I don't have any specific plans for that. We'll return when the time is right, when it feels appropriate to go back to Earth." Jong then told him that the fastest portal will open in 4 days. As the portal here opens every day, and today is the day the portal opened here. As 1 day on Earth is the same as 5 days here. Jint was in ease that there was a cycle when the portal opened, as it's terrible to stay on this barbaric planet all the time. Keol told them that they will be back in 3 days. But deep inside he realized that next time he ventured into that perilous apocalyptic world he needed to bring his grandpa along. Leaving him alone in such a harsh and unforgiving environment was simply not an option. The thought of his grandpa facing the dangers of that realm without anyone to help him filled him with a sense of dread. Turning his attention back to the boy standing before him, he felt it was important to learn more about him. After all, the information he had just shared seemed to carry weight and significance. He cleared his throat and asked, "What's your name?" The boy looked up at him, a hint of surprise in his eyes. With a shy smile he replied, "My name is Jong." However, while pointing at him, our boy told him that now he is the number one. Jong was literally freaking out at that point. He was like, "What?" Afterwards he told them that he will refer them as 5 siblings as numbers from 1 to 5. Suddenly the cutie freaked out, asking if he is joking or something. She told him that she got a name. However, she all looked angry and serious, asking her what's the problem. She then shouted that it was nothing. She must have been startled by their big monkey. Cheel walked away, a thoughtful frown on his face. Remembering names felt like an unwelcome chore. It was a hassle that occupied his mind, especially in a world where survival was the priority. He sighed, trying to shake off the trivial concern as he focused on what lay ahead. Finally they reached the sea, the vast expanse of water stretching before them. They were on a makeshift wooden raft, the waves gently rocking it as they settled in. Jin-tae turned to Cheel, curiosity shining in his eyes. "Did you craft this raft?" he asked, impressed. Cheel nodded, a hint of pride creeping into his expression. "Yeah, I'm getting more experience in production," he replied. However, he was just frustrated that he has to just rowing it like this. Afterwards he started tying a knot of rope, saying he can't do this any longer. It turns out that he was doing that to himself. While Jin-tae asked him to sit down and what he was doing. While jumping in the water, he told Jin-tae that it's just too slow, so he can't hold back anymore. Afterwards he went deep in the water and then started swimming like a crazy maniac. He was moving the raft fast like plane. Jin-tae felt a wave of realization wash over him as he observed Cheel, who seemed to adapt to every situation with remarkable ease. It was a stark contrast to his own feelings of inadequacy, as he often labeled himself a clown loser, someone who struggled to keep pace with the demands of their unit. The fact that Cheel had ascended to the position of commander only amplified Jintae's insecurities. He couldn't shake the nagging thought that he needed to stop running away from his problems and confront his challenges head-on. As they continued their journey, they finally reached their destination. Before them loomed a massive pyramid structure reminiscent of the ancient Egyptian wonders. Afterwards a notification window pops up saying that they got a perks for contributing to sanctuary activation. Jin-tae stood in awe, realizing that this was his first time witnessing such an impressive structure. The grandeur of the pyramid before him was unlike anything he had ever seen. Its ancient stones seemingly whispering secrets of a long-forgotten era. Chil, standing beside him, casually remarked that it looked good just by glancing at it, his tone light and nonchalant. "Let's get the coins first," Chil instructed, already moving forward with a sense of purpose. However, Jinte remained frozen in place, a weird blank expression on his face as he processed Chil's words. Summoning his courage, he called out to his friend. "Chil," he said, "I think we should get the coins separately this time." Chil turned to him, his brow furrowing in confusion. "What are you talking about?" he asked. Jinte further told him that with the crisis of the end world happening, he feels like he haven't done anything alone yet, so this time he want to try and do it by himself. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a warm orange glow over the landscape, Chil found himself engaged in an exhilarating battle with an ostrich-like dinosaur. With each punch he landed, he felt a rush of adrenaline. He had never encountered a monster quite like this before, and the thrill of the fight made his heart race. The creature flailed wildly, but Chil's strikes were precise and powerful, and he couldn't help but smile as he reveled in the challenge. Just as he was about to deliver another blow, he noticed a second monster charging toward him from the side. "How dare you ambush me like that?" he shouted, anger flashing in his eyes. Without hesitation he pivoted, channeling all his energy into a devastating smash that sent the new dinosaur crashing to the ground. With a grin spreading across his face, Chil declared, "I'll turn you into a chicken." The area was full of coins and beads. Chil wondered that this should be enough coins and beads. Suddenly he saw a pink light aura glowing from one of the dinosaurs. A notification window pops up notifying that it's a skill stone and it imbues magical power to throw items with greater strength and speed. He realized that it imbues magical power to throw items with greater speed and strength. Chil was excited to test out his new skill now. He then realized that Jint was all alone, so he hopes he must be doing well. Meanwhile, Jint stood resolutely in front of a massive dinosaur, his heart pounding with a mix of fear and excitement. He shouted at the creature, daring it to come closer. As the dinosaur lumbered toward him, Jint sprang into action, quickly pulling out ropes that he had prepared for this very moment. With swift, practiced movements, he expertly ensnared the dinosaur, securing it just as it began to charge. With the creature momentarily trapped, Jint dashed behind a cluster of trees, his pulse racing with adrenaline. Gathering his strength, he emerged from his hiding spot and charged at the dinosaur, swinging a makeshift weapon he had crafted from crocodile bones. With a powerful strike, he smashed the weapon against the dinosaur's head, feeling the impact resonate through his body. After the beast collapsed to the ground, Jint fell beside it, a wave of exhilaration washing over him. He lay on the ground, panting and grinning widely, reveling in the thrill of his first monster hunt. "I can't believe I actually did it," he exclaimed, his voice filled with joy. He glanced at his weapon, a proud grin spreading across his face as he added, "I'm so glad I made a weapon out of crocodile bones." Jint stood up, a surge of confidence coursing through him. "I can now hunt on my own," he proclaimed, feeling empowered by his recent victory. He was just about to utilize his production method to enhance his newly crafted weapon, eager to make it even more formidable, when a sudden chill swept over him. He turned around only to be met with a terrifying sight. Looming behind him was a massive goblin-like monster, its hulking frame towering over him. The creature gripped a massive hammer-type weapon, its muscles bulging as it brandished it menacingly, its eyes glowing a fierce, ominous red that pierced through the dimming light of evening. It was the orc lumberjack. As he attacked Jint, he managed to jump at the right time and dodged it. He wondered that the monster is comparable to Keol, as he has done for sure this time. As the monster moved once again to attack Jint, he got hit on his face out of nowhere. And then the monster fell on the ground. When Jint looked around to see who that was, it was Keol. He told him that it was him, the number 2. Another notification window popped up saying it was a skill throw which imbues magical power to throw items with greater strength and speed. Afterwards, as they settled down to cook the monster they had just defeated, Keol turned to Jint, a look of concern etched on his face. "You know, I've been worried about you," he admitted, his voice low. But I'm really glad you're still alive. We've been through a lot and it's a relief to see you here with me. Jint nodded, a faint smile breaking through his earlier worries. Thanks Keol, I appreciate that. But I still have a lot on my mind. I need to do something about those ostrich dinosaurs and the orc that's been causing us so much trouble. Despite his determination, there was an undercurrent of doubt in his voice. The truth is, I don't think I can handle it. I've never really done anything on my own before, and that's been weighing heavily on me. Keol placed a reassuring hand on Jint's shoulder, his grip firm and steady. Listen, you shouldn't feel discouraged, he said, looking directly into Jint's eyes. Everyone starts somewhere, and being weak right now doesn't define you. You have to remember that it's okay to not be at your strongest. What matters is that you're trying, and I believe in you. With that, Keol reached into their supplies and offered Jint some freshly cooked meat. Here, have some of this, it's delicious, I promise. And just to clarify, it's not his meat. Keol further told him that if he keep training he will be a great fighter. Jint wondered if he was the same Keol he knew, as he think that he has grown up a lot since coming here. However, Keol then told him that since he already know that he is a barbarian. He told him that he is different from a normal human being. Jint was taken aback by Keol's comment, his eyes widening in disbelief. Wait, what are you talking about? He asked, confusion clouding his thoughts. As he processed Keol's words, a realization struck Keol. It dawned on him that Jint might not have known about his background as a barbarian, which explained his shocked reaction. Panic spread across Jint's face as he stammered, you mean you might be from a savage nation? Is that what you're saying? His mind raced with images of wild tribes and fierce warriors completely at odds with the Keol he knew. Keol couldn't help but laugh at Jint's reaction. Whoa, calm down, just because I have some skills doesn't mean I'm a savage, he said, trying to defuse the tension. But as he thought about it more, he realized that many of the things Keol had done didn't exactly align with what he thought of as typical human behavior. Jint began to reconsider all the oddities he had witnessed. You've done so many things that just don't make sense for a human, he murmured, his brow furrowing in thought. Like how you handled that monster back there, or how you seem to thrive in these wild conditions. It's almost like you've been trained for this kind of life. Keol then asked him if he didn't knew that he was a barbarian. He told him that he didn't knew that. Keol then laughed and told him that he don't need to compare himself with him now because they are different. The next morning they arrived outside the pyramid sanctuary. As they touched the walls, the pyramid sanctuary was activated and they were bombarded with the rewards. Their inventory storage was increased. Meanwhile, Jint realized that the activating is quite amazing, as if it's like subspace. Keol turned to him and explained that there had to be a difference in compensation based on the number of coins collected. This insight made everyone pause for a moment, deep in thought. Just as they were processing this information, their eyes widened in astonishment as a notification window appeared before them. The message announced that they had been granted a blessing from the sanctuary which would double their recovery rate for the next 24 hours. The news sent waves of excitement through the group as they realized the significant advantage this blessing would provide them in their upcoming challenges. The loser Jintai couldn't help but wonder if with these new perks he might finally become strong himself. He realized that he could stop relying on Keol for protection and that it was time for him to forge his own path to strength. As he contemplated this newfound resolve, a series of unsettling noises pierced the air, drawing Keol's attention. He glanced around and spotted a group of goblins brandishing hammers, their malicious eyes glinting with intent. Panic surged through Jintai, and without a moment's hesitation he came sprinting toward Keol, desperate to save himself from the impending threat. However, Keol pushed Jintai back, saying that now he got his perks he should fight for himself. Jintai then looked at Keol, whose muscles were already popping out. He told Jintai that he shouldn't be scared since he got a barbarian next to him. Keol turned to Jintai, urging him to take on the orc they had spotted earlier, assuring him that he would handle the rest of the goblins. With a determined nod, Keol rushed forward, eager to engage the enemies head-on and take the initiative in the fight. However, as Keol dashed into the fray, Jintai's face twisted in panic. "Wait, I thought we were going to fight together," he exclaimed, his voice rising in a mix of fear and disbelief. Afterward, Keol swiftly dodged the goblin's attack, moving with agility and precision. Seizing the opportunity, he grabbed the goblin's own weapon and smashed it against the ground, a smirk on his face as he taunted, "Using a weapon against an unarmed opponent isn't very manly." He then took possession of the weapon, standing triumphantly over the defeated goblin, feeling a surge of confidence. Suddenly, from behind, a massive beast lunged toward Keol, ready to attack and catching him completely off guard. Just as the danger loomed closer, Jintai, filled with a surge of unexpected bravery, rushed in and shoved the beast to the side, declaring, "No, I'm the one who has to fight this," he said. Keol couldn't help but smile like a little kid, watching Jintai standing bravely in front of him, ready to take down such a massive beast all on his own. It was a sight he never thought he would witness, and the excitement bubbled within him. However, the joy quickly faded as the monster swung its wooden hammer, slamming it down onto Jintai with relentless force, one hit after another. With each brutal strike, Jintai felt the wind knocked out of him, the pain overwhelming. Desperation flooded his mind as he gasped for breath, and for a brief moment he truly believed he was going to die. And just like that, the monster smashed him so hard that he went flying towards the tree. Jintai felt that he let his guard down for so long as he relied too much on the blessings. He then looked at the monster's sausage and planned that he is starting to see this guy's attack patterns. After gathering his courage, Jintai sprinted toward the monstrous creature, his heart pounding in his chest. He knew he needed to begin with a downward strike to catch the beast off guard. As he closed the distance, a plan formed in his mind. He decided to slip inside the monster's reach. He focused on dodging the enemy's critical hit, his instincts guiding him. With surprising agility, he maneuvered smoothly past the beast's massive arms and lunged at its neck with his knife. Overcome with exhilaration, Jintai began to dance around the fallen orc like a monkey, his movements wild and jubilant as he cheered for his unexpected victory. Kyle clapped Jintai on the back, congratulating him on his impressive victory. "You did great out there, you've really grown quite a bit," he said, a proud smile spreading across his face. Jintai beamed at the compliment, feeling a swell of confidence. "Thanks, Kyle, I think I'm starting to get the hang of fighting," he replied, excitement lacing his voice. He paused for a moment, then added, "And you're pretty amazing too, taking on those spear-wielding orcs like that isn't easy." However, Kyle was still silent as he looked at the notification window, which told them that they have a deep understanding of spear techniques as they unlocked the skill Spear Mastery. Kyle then realized that fighting with a stolen spear is no wonder it unlocked the Spear Mastery. Kyle further figured out that it seems that this is the same concept as him fighting out crafting. He then got an evil idea that using weapons they should learn stuff like this. With the immense amount of excitement on his face, he asked Jintai if he is fully recovered. Jintai was confused. He asked him not to tell if he is looking for another fight right now. Kyle then pointed towards a patch of earth just beyond the clearing where a series of footprints led into the dense forest. "Look over there," he said, his tone shifting to one of intrigue. "Those footprints could lead us to the orc camp. If we follow them, we might discover where the orcs live." Jintai's eyes widened with excitement at the prospect. Kyle continued, "There might be other weapons besides those spears we've seen. We could find something even better to help us in our battles."